morning and welcome to the program Perspectives. Perspectives this morning on Invicta 98.9. And this morning, the program attention and focus would be on the state of the nation. Now, when we talk about the state of the nation, it's not from one angle that we're looking at it. The state of the nation comprises of the so many factors, that put, governance into play. Security, economy, education, and all of that would be seen as parts of the state of a nation. But Nigerians at this moment are concerned about, the state of the nation, worried that this may not just be going the way, we would all have wanted it. But again, how can we get out? And then what are the things and steps to take to get us out of this room? Now, I've been inviting people over on the program to talk, from their different perspectives about the state of the nation. And we're getting varied opinions, too, about it. This morning on the program, my guest is Honorable Barrister Bello Rigachukun, was one time former member of the Federal House of Representatives. He's a practicing lawyer now and a man who is in the business of governance and would continue to be there. Honorable Barrister Bello Rigachukun, good morning. I'm glad you have your national.
Thank you, Mr. Toyin. Listeners, good morning. It's my pleasure. Well, let me give you just a second to go to Ibrahim Bello.
Ibrahim Bello Rigachukun, yes. Honorable Bello Ibrahim Rigachukun.
Oh, thank you.
My guest this morning. And again, coming from a perspective of a man who had been there, I'm talking as a former member of the Federal House of Representatives, because again, in talking about the state of the nation, we would come to that part of governance. This talking about the representatives of the people and what is expected of them. We're putting so much into our representatives now, so much that we want from them, but how much are we getting from them? We'll talk about that while looking at the state of the nation. But Honorable Barrister Bello Ibrahim Rigachukun, just for an opener here, an overview, come with your perspectives of an overview of the state of the nation today.
Mr. Toyin, listeners, good morning. You see, the situation we find ourselves today in this country is terrible, in some aspects, mostly about security. If you look at provision of the Constitution, it's spelled out clearly. The primary responsibility of every existing government in this country is security and welfare of all the Nigerians, the whole 36 states, including Abuja. So we found that the security, architecture is so challenging now that the government is doing everything possible, but still, it's persisting. And if you look at what's happening, like where we are here in Kaduna State, like my constituency, Igabi, where I come from, the situation is worrisome. The government is doing everything possible, but we just thank God, that things are better off than before. But still, and it's a continuous process. Even though the whole thing is inclusive now, even the people are now supporting the security atmosphere to make sure that they help the government and whatever information or whatever they can do to make sure that at least things are better than what has been happening. So, and there's a great expectation, because if you look, we're in democratic kind of setup, and there's no way, though I stand to be corrected, nothing can flow, nothing can go the way it's supposed to democratically when the security won't have a security challenge. When we're talking Oyani about 23 incoming elections and what have you, how is it feasible that the high level of abductions, rape, the parliaments, and so many of this kind of vices is persisting? As I've said before, the government is doing everything possible because it's statutory for them to do that. They have been doing everything possible. But look at the situation. But notwithstanding, we have to continue struggling. So I have this to say that whatever we're into now, taming this security situation, changing the security architecture, reaching out, looking at the restives, the vulnerables, issue of youth exuberance, another thing. Because in most of situations, you find out that these youths, they join these bandits because they are jobless. You know, the government is doing everything, you know, because there's so many schemes giving out, you know, assistance, you know, empowerment from sources. But if you look at it very well, our nature of growth is higher than our death rates. By a month or a quarter, you find that we have a lot of youths, you know, qualifying from 17 to 18 years being the age of poverty at a high level. And our growth rate, as I've said before, is, you know, is speeding up by day. Our death rate is very low. So you find out that our youth are coming daily and they are in need. The youth of today has a lot of ambition than me and you, because of societal kind of changes, you know, with the social kind of things that we've been seeing during our time. Somebody at 20, just nothing to run about. But now, a boy of 15, 16, he's imagining himself to be a multi-millionaire. Have a lot of fascinating looks, a lot of things like that. So, but if you look at it very well, at the beginning of this government, one of the...
Honorable, just before you go on that, I still want to take put Nigeria in perspectives of what she had been before and how she was looked at and what we're seeing today. I'm going back, and this time when I say going back, I want to even go to the time of when President Olusegun Obasanjo was former military head of state. There was a time that Nigeria was seen as the giant of Africa. Economically, it was strong and buoyant. Its education was top class, and all of that. That was working for Nigeria. And recall that South Africa was where Nigeria, on its external policy, you know, played a very, very significant role to bring to an end the apartheid regime in South Africa. We'll go to Southern Rhodesia too, now Zimbabwe. There's so much role that Nigeria played there, you know, and you know, frontline states where Nigeria played a very important role. But today, Nigeria, some people will say that Nigeria is seen as a pariah nation, so much to say that you know, other African countries do not hold Nigeria, and there's so much high esteem that this country was once held. What went wrong?
Thank you. You see, Nigeria is a great nation. As God will have it, I was opportune to be a member of Nigerian delegates in Pan-Africa Parliament, the 7th Assembly. And as God will have it too, chaired the Committee on Trade, Customs and Immigration Matters. I oversaw almost 42 African countries. Wherever I find myself as a Nigerian delegate or member of, we call them ourselves MPs, honestly, you need to see the respect when I stood up the mission that I'm a Nigerian member of the National Parliament, now representing Nigeria in the Pan-African Parliament in South Africa. You see, the respect is there. Great expecting is there. I don't want to use that complex, you know, but that complex is in them. They feel we're superior at that time. I'm just talking about 2011 to 2015, just close nearby. So, if you look at, if you want to make comparative analysis from what you have said from during the Obasanjo time and now, you see, the story will never be the same. Because so many things pass through administratively, our government, our sessions. Every government has its own policies, you know, what have you. And we could not succeed to the extent that to maintain that Nigeria being the giant of Africa, to sustain that kind of thing we're talking about, what convinced the Africans to feel that yes, we're really superior. We let things go. An example, even listeners can remember that when somebody from a neighboring country, Ghana, then there's that inferiority complex because they feel inferior then when they're in Nigeria. But later on, in some part, some have to refer back to their own country. And what's obtainable now is that they feel greater and even molesting the Nigerians there. It's a hard fact. This is the truth. Because they feel now they're superior than our so-called giant of Africa. They are with us, they are our neighbors, they are marriage, we are almost the same with them. They know our national predicaments. They know our developments because they are with us. You can't just see someone as this in Nigeria, this is a Ghanaian, or let maybe speak out. Because we're all blacks, we're all the kind of same nature. So now, when things in this country, you know, change of government, change of policies, issues comes up, the issue of this corruption, this could not go on well, these people that feel they're imperial, they have to go back and feel now they feel now their economy is better of Nigerian economy. Because when you want to burst out, you talk about your economy, so stability, peace, security, integration, you know, of what you have. That's how you take that leadership of any continent. But you find out that West were big, we have everything, but management, crisis, leadership issues, challenges, insecurity, and what have you. You find out that if you not compare with the security architecture of what's obtainable now in Nigeria and that our neighborhood, it's not the same. They feel more secured from how we're living in Nigeria today. So no matter the good governance we have, the good policies we have, in as much as this country is not secured, having security dynamics that even the government can come out and even deliver, then what are you talking about? The issue of democracy cannot even stand. That's why I even said before that even the yearning of 2023 coming, as far as security challenges persist, me and you cannot go on board. So the government, constitutionally, they must look for everything to make sure that life and property is secured. That is one. Explore, you know, modern technologies. Like now, I had somebody was saying one day that if some people, the bandits, they can come the 200 to 300 motorbikes. So which means if you can now use your common sense that 300 motorcycles are approaching a particular village. So which means they can be sighted. So we don't have the drones, we don't have the scientific equipment, we don't have the machinery, we don't have the intelligence gathering to do that. It's all available in my own perspective. But to deliver it, to do the needful, that is why the cookie crumbles. So now we have to tell ourselves, because we're all Nigerians. Without peace, there's nothing can go. That's my own belief. So the government is doing everything possible, but it must go extra mile. That's looking at the challenges. And, you know, erroneously, the way I'm looking at it, whatever the government want to do something about security, before they execute it, the whole world will know. As I've given an example, this is Barnawa. If there is something happening in Rigachukwu, if not from here, we'll make people to understand we're going to Rigachukwu to apprehend suspect criminals on the activity or attempted to make making an attempt. There's no way we'll get them. They'll run away because they have access to our classified informations. It's a blunder. In my own way, I'm not a security specialist, but that's where I'm looking at it. So many things we're doing, even with Boko Haram, the band or whatever, you find out that whatever the government will do, it will be exposed. Everybody will know. So if this thing cannot be stopped, in my own kind of advice, then Nigerians, governments from the whole tier should explore preventive mechanism. What's preventive mechanism? It simply means that the government should look for a process, a mechanism, a machinery, a modern machinery, whereby those people in the bush will be prevented from coming to make any abductions in the villages and what have you, so that you will not kill them because they're obstructed. So which means even the people in the villages are also protected, because when you protect those coming, which means there's going to be arrest. Maybe you can take the person to court for making an attempt to commit an offense, but he has not committed an offense. So the issue of killing, burning villages, naming people will stop. Why? Because there was that obstruction. If you use human beings, because people are suspecting that some even within the security architecture, there's some people giving this kind of information. Look at the arrest. You see some high-profile officers involved. You see, when you look at the social media, that's not what you will not see. So in order to avoid that, explore, make sure you go for preventive mechanism. Let us be protected. Even those who are brothers inside bush, let them be protected. We will not kill them, they will not kill us. Then the government should create something that will attack them to leave the bush, lay their arms and come and get something to do.
Honorable, because of how the angle you're coming from, let me just bring a unique situation here, and that's about what is happening in Kaduna State. Governor Nasir El-Rufai has said that he's not negotiating with criminals. That's out of the way. Now we have a situation where our children, the institution where they were all picked, some were picked, and now in the den of these bandits or criminals, and it's been taking days now and running into weeks now, and they're still there. And the governor has made it very clear, and most security outfits in the world will say there's no basis for negotiating with criminals. In this area, what are your concerns here?
You see, it's very unfortunate. You see, my able governor presently, his hands are tied. One, he has a previous experience. He was able to settle some of these kind of people, but they could not fulfill their promise. They could not stand the bond. They continue committing kill. So he said that you don't want to repeat the same kind of mistake before, because he has the belief that giving that money will not solve the problem. One. Secondly, if you look at Zamfara case, refer it or corroborate it with Katsina case, Niger State, it's the same issue. Even there's attempted negotiation or even negotiation that exists is never sufficient, because you don't know the number of people inside this bush. There are different kind of gangs, there are different kind of setups. So if you now sit down with a particular clique, you have a dialogue with them, that's not sufficient enough for any safety, because another gang somewhere will emerge. That is the truth, because that's why all the attempt of reconciliation or mediation within what is happening now is not successful. So if you come back to Kaduna State case, our issue of this boys is sympathetic. I'm a father, I feel it. But to my belief, by now, from what's obtainable, the government must have gone extra mile, but they cannot come out to the media and start talking about this. The way we are negotiating, this is what we are going to do. Because of the stand of our governor, there is no going to, do that. But he has a lot of opportunity. He has so many processes where we can be to negotiate or arrange in order for these our boys will be released. But to come out publicly to tell the whole world we are negotiating, we are going to give so amount of money, they are returning to do it tomorrow. Well, based on his own stand and from his previous experience, as he stated, because he regretted that time giving out a lot of money, but it was not sufficient because it couldn't settle the problem. So now, from what's happening now, because all Nigerian, all the Kaduna people are feeling about the abduction of our students, and the government stand is, people are saying that the government should do something about it. The government should not keep mute. So in my own perspective, in my own reasoning, I reason that the government is doing something, it cannot come up public. Cannot come up public. So once you're doing this kind of negotiation, some things, it needs classified processes. You don't come out to talk. You talk, because if you talk, that is not sufficient enough from what's talking from Katsina and Zamfara State cases. So sometimes not keeping it, because now there's a lot of pains within the family and the generation of people of Kaduna State about what happened. So we're praying that the government should go extra mile so that these children can be released.
Let me take you. You are a staunch member of the All Progressive Congress Party. You've been there with them, and of course, the situation in the country today is on the party and mode of governance. And Femi Adesina, special advisor to the president on media, and communications, had come out on national television to say that the president of Buhari never promised Nigerians that he was going to make a naira,
to a dollar.
Now, Nigerians are hinging on promises, and these promises would go back to the advent or before the advent of this administration, that El Dorado was promised Nigerians. Security will come to an end, challenges will come to an end. There will be employment. There will be massive employment. Schools will be revived. So many promises that were made, and which on that, this administration rode into power.
Diversification economy?
Yes. All of that. But today, it's again on this administration that Nigerians are crying that there's hunger in the land, there's insecurity, and the economy is not, thriving well. So the bashing that this administration is receiving, so much so, and all pointers are on President Muhammadu Buhari.
Yes.
We also want to look at the lieutenants, his lieutenants, or the team, members of his team, cabinet, that why have promises not been fulfilled?
You see, Mr. Toyin and our listeners, I don't want to go into defenses, because Nigeria is for all of us. The former government of PDP, the APC, APGA, PRP, WhatsApp, were all Nigerians. And I have this to say, even though we're beyond blame games, but this, you ask a question which we have to start from there. Most of this problem we're having now is inherited. But existing government feels we can give our own contribution to secure this country, thereby secure the economy, security, employment, unemployment challenges, issues, you understand, and so many other things that we feel Nigerians need, and that's why we'll come on board. So the issue of security, which is the monster among all, even though everyone knows that the serious economy, agriculture, and what have you, it has been accessible, but it's the security is consuming all this great success. So when there's security challenge in a democratic setup, so many things will not go on well. The government policy, the government processes cannot go on smoothly. Because even Mr. President, I can stand to be corrected. He's mentioned it even during the campaign. All these things we have mentioned, we are going to deliver, if you put us in office, is subject to security. Well, if this country is secure, that's what we can be able to do all these things we're talking about. He mentioned it. But nobody can now say that there's no security in this country as of today. But they just will thank God, regionally, it's a particular region now that's having more kind of security issues more than the other side of the country. So I took it as a challenge, and I believe the government is doing everything possible to make sure this thing is gone, because without challenging the security, curbing the security menace, putting things right, there's no way this campaign promises things that which the government has in mind to deliver, they can deliver it, because the country has to be secured. It's basic. Because now look at this northern part of the country. If children cannot go to school, if farmers cannot go to farm, if you cannot go to work, brother, then what are you talking about? The situation, I'm not praying, we don't pray for that. It will be that these guys, before you have to go to the farm, before you have been kidnapped or along the way. Okay, you refuse to travel. You refuse to go to the farm. You are at home. The situation has been so deteriorating to the extent that they come to your house and pick you up. But still, it's a challenge. Very strange to this government. And I've said before, the government inherited these security challenges from the previous government. But we don't want to blame you, because the PDP are all Nigerians. Nigeria is for all of us. And statutory, every existing government must make sure that Nigerians' lives and property is secured. So we're doing everything possible. Nigerians, yes, they're not happy. No Nigerian will tell you that he's happy, that things are getting worse. But no Nigerian will tell you that this government is not doing its own best. You can see infrastructure development. You can see a lot of government policies working. You can see a lot of palliatives and other government mechanisms of assisting people, bring them up from poverty through a lot of central bank and other seminars, so many other empowerment. It's successful. It's not a lie. And Nigerians have been benefiting. But some people are benefiting. They will not come to tell the whole world they benefit from this government, because they think that they have not got enough. We are Nigerians. We have right to opinions. We have right to speak our own mind. And every Nigerian has the right constitutionally to speak the way he's been governed, from the local council, state, even the federal government. So some people are happy. Some, out of political, interest or intrigue, they will not say their own mind, whether they know the government is working. And there's a lot of saboteurs In every democratic setup, there must be opposition. But if you have an opposition that they are not patriotic, all they want is to pull the government down and not appreciating whatever the government is doing. In uplift the life of people, you see a lot of challenge there. That is the truth.
The program is Perspectives, and it's coming to you on Invicta 98.9. And we're talking about the state of the nation. And what is the state of the nation here? From the economy to security to education to health. And all these will form part of the state of a nation. And my guest this morning is Honorable Barrister Bello Ibrahim Rigachukwu, a former member in the 7th Assembly, the 7th member of the APC, sharing thoughts with us about the state of the nation. We'll come back after this break. Welcome back. Here's the program Perspectives this morning, and looking at the state of the nation. And of course, here with us in the studios, Honorable Barrister Bello Rigachukwu, a former member in the 7th Assembly of the Federal House of Representatives, represented Ikabi Federal Constituency then. And Honorable, before we went on that break, there was this closing part of it that you said security challenges, more of it that we're experiencing today was inherited. Inherited from, I'm sure you're talking about the previous administration, the PDP. And surprisingly, too, this is where we find on our political landscape that cross-carpeting or jumping the ship is what we know with politics. You are in the PDP then at the time, and now you're with the APC, and you're now putting blame on a party that you once belonged to and saying all of this was inherited. And so sometimes you just do not get what is coming out, from especially, from the political leaders. And I want to make it a double-barrel question here. You have to address that for me. And of course, talk about President Muhammadu Buhari's, policies. Before he came on board, too, with his team, he had promised Nigerians that he was going to be refineries, one each of, with the years. But we haven't seen anyone, and yet we're budgeting close to 2 billion naira on refurbishing refineries. And some people are asking the rationale on these, that couldn't that money be enough to have another refinery or have some refineries? Of course, we do know that there's a private hand now. Aliko Dangote has his own top-class, top-notch, all over the world. And so, government and its involvement in business, that some analysts would say that government had never been a good manager of business, that it should be left into private hands. Your concerns about this stuff?
Thank you. Well, let me answer the first bit of your question. You see, the Nigerian political atmosphere, it's not an offense, it's a political intrigue. There's no violation of any norm, or any law, or any party constitution of all the registered political parties we have in this country. Because any party constitution or manifesto that contravene any Nigerian constitution, the Nigerian constitution supersedes, So every politician has a discretion to be in the PDP, to go back to PRP, or you want to come to APC. It's optional, it's discretional. It's just that when you have a public mandate and your party existed, so you have no right to defect, because that seat you occupy, that public mandate which you are sitting on under a political party platform, is not you or myself, Honorable Ibrahim Bello. It's my political party. So that you cannot defect, that you cannot change at every single period of time, unless there's an exemption to this constitutionally. That is, if there's party friction, there's a kind of issues, the issue could not be reconciled, it's not mediated, the matter was taken to court, and there was a court judgment, court pronouncement that this party is now divided into 2 or 3. Then if you hold if you have a party mandate, if you are a member of the House or any other position, then yes, you are eligible to manage any other political party platform as far as your own seat. But if you are not been elected, you have the right, as I'm speaking to you, to jump from APC to PDP, from PDP or to PRP.
How does that?
No, that's yeah.
You know, I'm saying that shouldn't our constitution again be looking at this issue of cross-carpeting? Because again, I mean, jumping out in the middle of the ocean, or so to say, we borrowed this democracy from America, and we know that the strong parties in America today would be the Democrats and the Republicans. And for some people, they've stayed in one party for close to 100 years.
Thank you, Mr. Toyin.
But why are we doing this?
No. It's very simple. You see, Nigerian law is a man-made law. It's not a divine law. So therefore, it's subject to amendment. If now Nigerians feel that we have a lot of political parties, or the issue of cross-carpeting is unwarranted, there's outcry, it's just to move a motion before the National Assembly.
Do we need to do that?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Because we're in democracy, and we have our constitution, we have our electoral acts. Even though our electoral acts cannot, stand before Nigerian provision of the constitution. So when something is becoming a bottleneck, an issue, public outcry, people are not happy with it. We're in democracy. People say, look, we need only 10 political parties. Fine. Then amend that ambit of the constitution that warrants every Nigerian has the right to create a political party, in as much as you now satisfy all the rudiments. It's simple. So then we do the amendment. But if there's no amendment, the law is there, then it's discretionary. So if you now make a comparative analysis between Nigerian democracy and the American state of government, yes, then there's something wrong there. Why? Because how many years are we in democracy in Nigeria now? From 1999 to date only. This we're talking about 200 something years. What kind of issue that comes up some few months ago? You can remember, Mr. Toyin and our listeners, up to today, Donald Trump is still denying that defeat. Is it democratic? Is it a good example? The attack on Capitol Hill, is it democratic? Is that our West African experience that we have seen from the modern world? It's terrible.
I'm not going to go away on this. We're talking about representatives of the people now, and you have been and still are. Remember the time when you were at the 7th Assembly, and what is happening now to this assembly is that are Nigerians confusing what the rules of representatives, what your rules are? Because again, we see, people say that once elected, representatives of the people move away or go away, and they don't get to see them until another election year. And what do you do? Representatives, all they do at upper level and the lower class too, lower level, that you buy keke napep, you buy swing machines, and you do all of that, and that's empowering the people. And questions are being asked. And again, the economy, that the bulk of our economy today, so much is going into the hands of our representatives, their demands and all of that. So that assembly, just how much is it helping?
Thank you, Mr. Toyin. You see, what do you call a representative? Strictly, it's constitutional. The Constitution provides there shall be 360 members of the Federal House of Representatives in this country, representing 774 local councils. One, there shall be 109 distinguished senators representing 109 senatorial districts. It's constitutional. Every state, Lagos has only 3 senators, and Kano is the same 3-3. Small states like Nassau and the rest, they're all 3-3 because it's statutory. Fine. Then, secondly, what is statutory responsibility of a legislator? Buying keke napep, building mosque or church, putting cemetery, giving empowerment, buying keke napep, paying school fees, dowry, gift. These are cosmetics. It's not statutory. Any person, any politician who's elected, who happen to come and give you 10 naira, 100,000 naira, he just putting his political structure in order. But that's not his statutory responsibility. What is statutory responsibility of a legislator? Simple. A statutory responsibility of a payroll maker is to represent his constituency while they cannot represent themselves individually. One, to make sure that he participates in the plenary, legislative business, the oversight, taking up petitions, issues from his constituency down to the National Assembly, putting Nigeria first in his front for legislative integration. So whenever you see Nigerian some politicians dwelling in giving out empowerments, giving out cash, machines, all these things they're talking about, that's not the work of any legislator. I stand to be corrected. We're talking about the rudiment, the laws, what's obtainable. A legislator is expected to be in the plenary, to be in the legislative process where you can make good laws, peace, and integration of Nigeria in the bicameral parliament of our National Assembly. So in the state, also in the local council. We have 3 arms of government. If you talk about infrastructure, constitutionally, that's the work of an executive arm of government. If you talk about lawmaking, that's legislative arm of government. If you talk about judiciary, that's a different thing. They're independent. They are not politicians. So when you see a legislator doing something like infrastructure, well, it's something which was given, as a priority, during the budget.
Why is it being said now that our representatives are living large? They're getting best. They're demanding for all of the things that will make life, living large.
Yes,
to say.
There must be that agitation. There must be issues, as I've said, complaints. We see, as I've said before, I was opportune to be a member of Pan-African Parliament, where I represent Nigeria in the 7th session. You see, most of these African countries, they're unicameral parliaments. Unicameral parliament simply means one parliament of an existing parliamentary system. Whereby in Nigeria, we're bicameral parliament. And bicameral simply means dual, the upper chamber and the lower. So we emulate American democratic setup. So bicameral parliament being double, the House of Reps, 260 members, representing 774 local government, as I've said before, and 109 senators. Yes, there must be heavy expenditure because of legislative processes. Now in the National Assembly, no any member, 260, even 109 senators have a house given to you by the National Assembly's Commission. You have to go and look for a rent. You stay in a hotel, wherever you will stay. You just have to come and do the legislative business because you hold a public mandate. We don't have even the cars. We used to be giving cars in a session, and you are not allowed to be using your own personal car on that kind of activity. We have oversight functions, which is one of the cardinal basics of being a member of a legislator, either in the state or in the federal parliament. So now, therefore, since we have high level of poverty, people are hungry, and they found out that this, out of almost 200 million Nigerians, we have only 360 of us representing 774. That is a question of suspicion. That raises a question of jealousy. I'm sorry to use that word. Because whatever the situation, remember, what I've given a new
are the people jealous of having elected you to represent them?
Because some of the political opposition or the person from your constituency, not that you defeated them during the polls, they will be jealous. I'm not talking about the people that holds the mandate. I'm not talking about electorates. I'm talking about we the politicians. They're the ones inciting the public against us. But we know. But the truth is that if listeners can remember, our former president, President General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, in one of his birthdays or present, he said it. One of the things we could not be to do is to make. He wanted to make Nigeria as an unicameral, as a unicameral chamber. Because they asked him what is the reason. He said yes, because of cost of governance. We don't have money like before. So now, since that was not possible, as I've said before, every ambit of Nigerian constitution is supposed to be amended. The issue is to come up before the plenary. And every ambit, every section of the constitution, if it's to be amended, it must to pass all the legislative processes, all the legislative houses of the 36 states. Everybody will come and give his own public contributions in respect of that kind of that section that's sought to be amended. So, if now people that look, this amount of money, this we are eating money, They are using cars. They're living in heaven on earth. All these things, we know of it. It's simple. You're not going to beat any member, insult him. No. Ask the people representing to move a motion to amend that.
Are they ready?
No. Yes.
Are they really ready?
Of course. If me and you are not ready, some are ready. If me and you are ready, some are not ready. But that's why in democracy, number counts. If the matter is taken as a subject matter for deliberation before the National Assembly, in the plenary, it must be debated. From the lower house, House of Reps, there must be concourse with the Senate, the upper chamber. Then it must go around since it's touching an ambit of the Constitution. Because the Constitution provides there should be 360 members representing 774 local governments. And it's also the Constitution that provides for the Senate. So if Nigeria are not happy, the money is expended and we don't have money like before. It's simple. Don't stop criticizing. Ask people to take the matter before the National for deliberation, for amendment. It's simple because there's going to be public, issues. I mean, the deliberation. Why every Nigerian has the right to come when it comes to your own state, you go and give your own contribution. That yes, these people, we don't have money now, unlike before. Now things are terrible. We don't have money. The oil we rely on. Give your own submissions, which will be taken to National Assembly for consideration.
Quickly, let us hear about this the refinery thing that I was talking about the president. Yeah.
You see, the issue of refinery. You see, it's one of these government promises that there should be, rebuilding, rehabilitating all the, the refineries we have. But somewhere along the line, if you look at the financial, strife this will happen to be in. This is the first time an existing government happened to go out of this kind of, financial mess twice. It's in existence. It has never happened before. And when you have this kind of financial eclipse, there must be a problem. It must frustrate so many of your, projections. Because there must be cash flow. And me and you, the listeners, believe that almost 85% of all the source of our coming of any cash, because this rehabilitation or creation of a new refinery or rehabilitation, it has to do with money. Heavy amount of money. So that's that kind of issue. And in Nigeria, you find out that whatever we have to use money to put things going. And if there's any obstacle, that obstacle must affect any policy of the existing government. So to me, that's an issue. So that's why people now, if they fail to realize this fact what I portrays now, they think that yes, the government is so negligible, they didn't do what they're supposed to do. They promised to do these things early time. But the Nigerians should remember the financial mess we found ourselves. And I've said before, and I still insisted that most of these are problems, most of these are predicaments are heritable. We inherit it. But we have to manage, as I said before, both the PDP and the APC leadership were all one Nigerians. So we have to take it along. So they are doing everything possible. Even now, one of the reasons why people are talking about even this representation that is got a lot of money, yes, because there's this kind of price increase. If it is done this like 2-3 years ago, but we know, Nigerians, no matter what you do in Nigeria, you can never satisfy them.
No, we're saying that the blame game should have been over, that we put this administration on to do business for us and to continue, matters of governance. So why trace back? I mean, that was the reason why they came on board.
Yes, you see, that's what I've said before, that whenever there's financial issues from the inflows, where the money comes from, definitely there must be obstruction. Definitely the government policies, the government agenda must be obstructed. So and we just thank God that we're still not yet 2 years in office. Even though, as I've said before, I've told you, we're having a small discussion, that constitutionally, every existing government, elected government, is 4 years. But politically, it's 2 years. My reason is, if you have been elected today, after you've been inaugurated, a Nigerian politician who is elected doesn't know what is Monday or Sunday. Every Nigerian wants something from you. You will not bother to know what is your statutory responsibility, what you're supposed to do. A member representing a particular constituency is expected to contribute in bringing peace, progress, and unity of this country legislatively. But a politician, if he fails to come home and give out these empowerments, this kekena pep, doris, cash, sponsorship, then he will likely be maimed or bullied. It's known, listeners know what I'm talking about. So now, it's an issue between statutory and politicking. But to me, statutory suffice. Why? Because you have to be strictly on what you're supposed to do. so they can keep a good legacy. But the Nigerians now, they don't want your grammar. You don't want any bill. You don't want any motion. All they want is to see something on the ground. Cash. That is the truth.
Okay, let me quickly just squeeze in 1 or 2 calls before we bring it to a close here. Numbers 081 40,000 989, 081 40,000 989, or 070 87 800 989, 070 87 800 989. Take your calls. Hello, good morning.
Hello, Tony Alavi.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, your name and where you're calling from.
I'm Job International.
Job, let's hear you.
Welcome your guest.
Thank you.
The state of the nation, our guest is somehow economical with truth. The first in history, this present government, Buhari in particular, promised many things. But among many, let me mention 3 cardinal ones. Insecurity will be cleared within 3 months. Corruption will be stopped completely. And injustice will be eradicated. But today, they are the bedrock of this government. Let's start with insecurity. What are you saying that this government is doing? If I'm to score this government, I will score them 0 over 100. Because of insecurity, when they came because of insecurity, it was only Northeast, and only 3 states there. But today in Nigeria, even in that your FM, for you to come out, we will pray for you to come out safely. But no place is safe, especially Kaduna today. And when you come for corruption, sir, you can see the NNPC 26 billion during Barrow, 2.2 billion of NNPC scam, 2 billion of the repairing of refinery. And there is no any development. Look at the road given by Julius Vega to Julius Vega from Kano to Abuja.
Okay, Job International.
They have done nothing.
Yeah, we got you.
Now, yes, I'm going to learn now. And what are you saying that this government has done? Nothing, especially insecurity.
From your own perspective, from your own opinion, too. Okay,
thank you.
All right, I'll just take one call and then we come back to our guest. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Yeah, Mr. Tony Alabi, good morning.
Yes.
Good morning to Barrister Bello.
Thank you. Morning.
Yeah, my name is Clement Kolos. I'm calling from the most colorful part of Kaduna, Angonijoro. You see, Mr. Tony Alabi, our guests have successfully, in fact, they have just convinced so many people with political words. To be fair with you, he hasn't answered any of the questions that you asked, which are disturbing to the general masses. The first one, we asked about our economy. He said the soft issue is economy, but today we are still in recession. The 1 naira they promised us to dollar is not still there, and the amount of naira is going is just shooting. Look at where prices is going higher. Then, secondly, he spoke about our security, of which the previous caller called. And then that one is not an issue because it's a general problem now.
Yes.
But so in Alabi, let's look at it this way. This government, let's ask them, since he's there, what have they really solved since when they came into power? Among all the promises they gave, what have they really solved?
Yes, let me tell us.
Okay. Tell us. Thank you.
Hand over to you, Honorable Barrister Bello Ibrahim Rikachu.
Yes, you see, this is the beauty of information development. I give kudos to these private media houses, because before, nobody has the right to make this kind of even statement making. Nobody has the right to make any contribution. Nobody has the right, even though constitution, everybody has the right to speak his own mind about the way you're being governed. But now everybody's speaking his mind. And we have the mind, also the right, also to explain to the best of our ability. I'm not in defense here, but as a Nigerian, as a former lawmaker, I feel this is the way I can be able to contribute. I can answer this question you have asked. And I've answered the question based on my kind of understanding, my own kind of perspective. But Nigeria is one. Nigeria is of all of us. If you look at politicians, even in your street or at home, in your ward or local government, you find out that even in your house, you hardly get one politician. Forget about supporter, I mean a politician. So I simply means politicians are minority, minor, 001. So it is this minority that will come and campaign. They promise you. Some will fulfill the promise and some they will not. So if you actively want to bring progress in this country, what I advise our listeners, those are everywhere, they've had what were interactive today, is why don't you try and join the politics so they can help us in bringing out ideas, policies, development, integrity of this country, because we're all one. There's not any super or expert politician in this country. Every politician will come and do his own best and move. So now it's an inclusive responsibility. If I enjoy, you may not be, you may not appreciate to be a politician, but if you want progress, it's a collective issue. Participate. Now, nowhere President Muhammadu Buhari said that yes, I'm going to make 1 naira to $1. Even in the First Republic, it does not happen like that. Because of economic recession, we found ourselves. And this is the only government ever that survived 2 recessions in one administration. So we thank God for the order. The country will have collapsed financially. But now, as we're speaking here, we're also motivating the government to go extra mile. I said it. I'm a part of APC. But the government must go extra mile to make sure we have security, employment, restiveness, assist the youth, do the needful, because of tomorrow. We're talking about 2023. If there's no security, if the security is not secured, how can you go to pause? How can you contest? How can you go for any political programs that is coming up, bringing a new government in 2023? It's not possible. So now, we the Nigerians who must pray, both the Muslims, the Christians, the traditionalists, the youth, the politicians, what have you, who must go into prayers that may go help us so that can eradicate this security challenge this country.
Barrister Bello Ibrahim Rigachukun, we'd like to thank you for coming on the program.
My pleasure.
And we've just now had the last of you. We'd like to invite you over again in a short time.
I know this issue. We'll have a lot.
Yes, so much to talk
anytime.
about. Yes, okay. And that's Perspectives for today. My guest this morning, Honorable Barrister Bello Ibrahim Rigachukun, was in the Assembly, represented Igabi Federal Constituency. Thank God we have him here with us this morning. My colleagues here with me in the studios, to Dorcas, thank you for connecting us with the people. And Wisdom, thank you for putting us in the pictures. We'll come back with Perspectives tomorrow. Good morning.